Yeah, they have, and glad to have you though. Appreciate you joining us. You were with the Pearl Pirates last night. That game was an interesting game with Northwest Rankin.
It was. I think Pearl is wishing we'd have played it tonight instead of moving it to Thursday. It was rainy in Rankin County last night, and Northwest Rankin played a heck of a ball game.
Yeah.
Don't take anything away from Northwest, but the rain definitely played a factor. Pearl turned the ball over 4 times, 3 fumbles and an interception, and Northwest prevailed 21-13, and excellent play by Coach Devin Cooper and his kids. I know we have Devin scheduled to be on the program tonight, so kudos to them. First game of region play, Northwest now up top of that region at 1-0.
And Northwest had another win. I can't remember what the game it was, but it was a couple of weeks ago. Did they beat Madison Central, maybe?
They did.
That's good.
Their only loss so far this year was to Ocean Springs.
Yes.
And so they have played a Murderers Row non-conference. So Northwest is for real. I can tell you that 100%.
Yeah. All right, let's start off the show mentioning a couple of games that also were played on Thursday night, and then we'll also get to some scores that we've got of games going on tonight. And there are some games of real interest, some of which I don't think are completed yet, but we'll be getting scores as the night goes through. Mentioning Thursday. $50-0 was the score there. Mentioned Northwest Rankin over Pearl 21-13. It was Center Hill shutting out Olive Branch 28-0. Poplarville beat Pass Christian 31-23. Brandon defeated Petal by the score of 54-17. Actually, Provine won over South Jones 18-7. Provine's having a good year. They're now 5-2 on the season. South Panola won again. They shut out Saltillo 42-0. This was the oddest game, I think. I don't know. I'm assuming that you got some scores from the games played last night. Did you pay any attention to West Jones and Terry?
No, I did not. We were a little preoccupied with our loss over there.
Well, the reason I mentioned this, I saw this on the evening news last night, and they said West Jones beat Terry 2-0. And I thought, okay, well, they must have had a forfeit or something.
Right.
Well, I checked with Will Watson and a couple other people this today, and they said no, that was a legitimate score. It was a 4-quarter game. West Jones got a safety in the first half, and it held up. I mean, West Jones had a tough game last week against Prep, beat Jackson Prep, and then Terry played Clinton, and Clinton got their first win against Terry. But from what I understand, that was the legitimate score. West Jones is 7-0, but they beat Terry last night 2-0.
Talk about a defensive struggle.
I mean, a real defensive struggle. But I mean, I'd love to hear some more about that. But apparently, that was a legitimate game. If
anybody has something out there for us on that West Jones Terry game from last night, call in, because that's like a throwback to the old Wing T 1950s.
Absolutely, but you rarely have ever heard of one 2-0. I mean, that's
one that's not a forfeit, right?
Right, it's not a forfeit. Okay, let's go over some games from tonight. West Point over Corinth, 49-14. Ocean Springs, we mentioned them. Ocean Springs beat D'Iberville tonight, 43-13. It was Hazelhurst over McGee, 22-19. Houston beat Greenwood, 43-6. Jackson Prep, we mentioned Russ on the road at Presbyterian Christian in Hattiesburg tonight. Jackson Prep beat PCS tonight by the score of 49-0. And apparently, according to the statistics that Russ sent, and I guess we can rely on Russ, Prep had like 450-something yards of total offense to Presbyterian Christian's like 56. I mean, it was just one of those type of games. I think it was 49-0 at the half. Raymond beat Lanier 20-6. Laurel edged Stone 14-12. George County over Long Beach 48-7. Velma Jackson remains undefeated. They're now 6-0. They defeated McAdams 47-6. Mize over Collins 35-28. It was Murrah over Wingfield 35-8. Here's the game that I know a lot of people are very interested in, and I am too. MRA was playing at Hartfield. The last score that I've been able to find, and I believe this is accurate, it was 28-28 at the half. At last report, fourth quarter, Hartfield was leading MRA 63-56. I don't have anything to verify that or to verify if that's final, but that's what we have. But I'm sure we'll be getting a report anytime now and getting us a final on that game.
I got a couple others that popped out for you.
Go ahead.
If you had the Oxford and Horn Lake.
I do, but you go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. Oxford wins that game 28-14 up there in Horn Lake. That's a big win on the road for Oxford.
Yeah, and Oxford's, they've kind of struggled a little bit. I mean, not had the kind of season that they've had, in the last few years, but that is their third win. They're now 3-3. Oak Grove won over Meridian, but really kind of struggled. I mean, 45-35. Oak Grove over Meridian. Oak Grove is still undefeated. Let's see.
I'm a little surprised that Meridian was able to put that many points on Oak Grove.
Well, just from just the conversations that we've had, is that Meridian, got off to a slow start. They're like they always are, though. They've got talent. They may not win every game, but they've got the talent to be in a lot of games. So a good win for Oak Grove, nonetheless. Picayune, I'm sure Kerry Metzler. I said it again, but it's Kerry Metzler. He'll have a fit when he calls in. But Picayune defeated Pascagoula 51-14. So Picayune, after the week off last week, gets back on the winning track.
Roll Tide.
Yes.
And as soon as you're ready, Johnny Mims is on the phone for us.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, let's pause the scores here and talk to Johnny Mims. And I'm sure that the reason for the call is about the Miss Al game.
Johnny Mims.
Miss Al and the Bernard Blackwell.
Okay.
Johnny Mims, you there?
I'm here. How you all doing tonight?
We're good.
Great, Johnny. Hey, Greg Flynn filling in for Russ tonight, and boy, it was an exciting week as you got to name a bunch of All-Stars. First, the Bernard Blackwell North-South All-Star game, which will be played in Gulfport, and then also the Mississippi-Alabama game, which will be played down in Southern Miss this year. It rotates back to Mississippi, and it'll be played at M.M. Roberts Stadium in Hattiesburg.
That's correct. And I appreciate all the love y'all give us. Shout out to Chris Saxton there. I know he's always one behind the scenes, but I always have a shout out for old Chris. And of course, Russ does a tremendous job for us. We call him the voice of the MAC, and it's been with me a long time, and does a great job promoting high school sports, and especially our All-Star game. We appreciate it.
Hey, Johnny, just for the folks out there that may not know, how are all these players selected to either one of these contests?
Well, I tell you, we pick our staff in March of every year when we pick our staffs, and they begin to start meeting, and they do a lot of work in the summertime. They call, get lists from college coaches, junior college coaches around the state. They share their list with us, and they're nice enough to do that. And then, we have 9 coaches on the staff, and every one of them coaches, like D-line coach, O-line coach, and they identify, anywhere from 10, 12, 15 players, whatever, it could be more than that, around the state. And then they start, after they get the list, they start looking at them and evaluating them, and talking to really, they talk to coaches that have played against them, and they put in a lot of time and effort behind the scenes, and to pick a 40-man roster to represent Mississippi out of 550 probably senior kids that coaches nominate. I mean, it's quite a task to do that every year, and of course, we have the North-South game, the Bernard Black game, which we think that's just as good a game, and it gives us another, 45-man roster there, so it gives us another 90 players that we pick. So, it's about 130 All-Stars that we have give them a chance to play in our All-Star game, and it's just a great experience for these young men. And the Mississippi game, obviously that's the most touted game and we play, Alabama. Of course, Alabama's always bringing, good players too. So, but at that level, it steps up. It's kind of the first college game, playing against other players, running backs, playing against linebackers that can run just as fast as them, and they kind of see a new light in it, So, but it's great, and the North-South game is a tremendous game. I mean, we've got Division I players in that game that's committed to, to Division I schools there. So, and of course we have stipulations with that, and I'm not trying to, keep talking, but you asked me how we pick them.
Yeah.
We've got certain rules in the game that Mississippi and Alabama, abide by. You can only pick, a certain number of quarterbacks or running backs or linebackers. So that narrows it down with that. And of course, we have to, pick. We have to have each classification represented, each district represented in the state. So does Alabama. So we have to fill those gaps, to do that. And but the process is tremendous. I mean, the way they do it, the time and effort that these coaching staffs put in for these all-star games over and above what they do, back home at their school that they're trying to coach, and they're just doing extra work to do this. But it's quite an honor for our coaches to do that. They take a lot of pride, in these all-star games, and as you well know, and I think Chris can tell you too, Russ, I mean, just tremendous amount of talent in the state of Mississippi, and what better way to showcase these players, in an all-star game. And some of our best stories are when some of these players make the all-star teams, and they haven't committed, or either they haven't even been touted, and then after the ball game is over with, they pick up an offer from an SEC school or another D1 school, just because they can see that player play against someone else of a Division I caliber, and of course, they get to come watch them at practice and evaluate them too. So it's just it's a lot goes into it, but again, hats off to our coaches, our coaching staffs, our football committee. We have a football committee in MAC of about 24 coaches from around the state, from the north to the south, and they put a lot of time and effort into it as far as selecting our coaches. Of course, obviously, our coaches have to have certain credentials to be able to coach in an all-star game, and so it's a lot of work, but very well worked.
Well, talk about a who's who of your coaches. It's weird to see great head coaches that are falling in line as offensive, defensive coordinator. This year, the head coach for Mississippi, Judd Boswell from Clinton, his offensive coordinator, Toby Collins from Madison Central, his defensive coordinator, Josh Morgan from Warren Central. I'd put them against anybody in the country, and certainly against Alabama.
Well, they're certainly good coaches, and what the good thing about that is they'll be playing each other, or have played each other, and across from each other all year, and very competitive when they play each other. But the good thing is when they get together, they all come together and get along and work together and know the purpose of what we do.
Well, Johnny, thank you so much. George?
Yes, Johnny, thank you so much. We've got to take a break. Support for Friday Night Under the Lights comes from College Savings Mississippi, a division of the State Treasury of Mississippi. We'll be back in just a moment with more Friday Night Under the Lights. Going.
Well, yeah, I think you're going to drop a bomb on some folks.
Yeah, I'm going to drop a bomb here. That is a final. That is a final. Hartfield defeats MRA by the score of 63-56, and that's a high school game. I mean, that's a lot of points.
I mean, I know those are two good offenses now, but that's
ridiculous.
That is ridiculous.
Here's some other, and these are some games of real interest. I think a lot of people will be interested in. Germantown, Madison County Germantown defeats Starkville tonight by the score of 34-33. I don't think many people probably saw that one coming. And also we have Tupelo that came to Madison Central tonight, and Tupelo won by the score of 14-12. Now Tupelo led 14-3 It was deep in the fourth quarter. Madison Central got a couple of late scores. They failed on a 2-point conversion with like less than 30 seconds left, and that sort of sealed their fate. But Tupelo, who's had a couple of, well, at least one surprising loss, rallies and finds a way to hang on and beat Madison Central. They've got a good defense.
Well, and I tell you, the way that region now, I know this is the first night of region play, first week of region play for 7A, but District Region 2 7A, they only play 4 opponents this year because Murrah decided at the last moment to back out and be an independent, compete as an independent this year. So you have very limited number of games, and so when you see Madison Central now fall to 0-1 to join Starkville at 0-1, I mean, there's not a whole lot of room for error when you only play 4 games. They only have 3 games left, and they're going to take 5 out of the 6 teams from that region. In Germantown, wow, and all of a sudden they find themselves in a really good position.
Yeah, in a really good position, because that division you're talking about has Starkville, Tupelo, Madison Central, Germantown, and Clinton. So, you know, and it really is kind of interesting. You know, we've played all these games, but now you're getting into district play when it really, really matters.
Well, and, you know, but going in, people would said, okay, it's Starkville and Tupelo, probably going to be your top 2 coming out of there. But now when Starkville takes a loss tonight and all of a sudden they drop down to the bottom and you've got tough games remaining against Tupelo, Madison Central, and Clinton, you know, you're looking at maybe you could possibly go 1-3, who knows, and be on the outside looking in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here we go, Ty Boyles.
Ty, thanks for joining us tonight.
How you doing?
I'm all right. Crystal Springs had a tough opponent tonight. How did that game turn out?
We lost 41-7.
Okay. Playing Jefferson Davis County, right?
Yes.
Okay. That game was at Jefferson Davis?
Yes, it was at Bassfield. Yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, Crystal Springs is now, you know, they've won a couple of games. They're like 2-5, but Jefferson Davis County is now 6-1. That's a strong team. Who do you have next week?
We have our last home game, senior night, versus Seminary.
Okay. Well, that may be a game that Crystal Springs can rebound and win.
I hope so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for calling in. We appreciate the report. You know, appreciate your faithfulness in calling in every Friday night. Give us your out.
Go Dogs! Come on, beat Oklahoma!
Okay. Thank you. I mean, that's working for Texas. And maybe it'll help the Dogs next tomorrow against who they play, Western Michigan or somebody like that?
Mississippi State?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do play Western Michigan.
Yeah.
Hopefully trying to get a little healthy and get back on track.
And get a W tomorrow. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, thank
George,
you, Ty. Who do we
here's
have?
Jake Wimberly.
Jake Wimberly. Now, oh, my goodness.
Well, let me get him. Here you go. Try now.
Hey, Jake.
Well, try again.
Try again. Jake?
Guys, happy Friday.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, it's good. I mean, we're off on Friday night, so I'm just getting a chance to kind of sit back and listen to you guys kind of recap. Starkville goes down to Germantown tonight. Wow, what a update there.
Yeah, I mean, that's one that you really didn't see coming. I got your good friend, Mr. Flynn, here with me tonight.
Greg Flynn, how are you, sir?
I'm great. How is the best hair in high school football?
Well, you know, the hair's kind of falling tonight, but it's so it's a low maintenance night. Let's just say that.
Well, I was not overly surprised by the performance of the Brandon Bulldogs last night, as they pretty well dominated against the Petal Panthers.
You know, they really did. And you know, this is a team that's kind of grown up before us, kind of grown up in front of our eyes, so to speak. And, you know, a lot of times, you know, talking about this Brandon team, we've talked about this, is, you know, this team lost a lot off last year. They lost Luke Rogers, who, you know, is a Division I guy that went to Southern Miss. They lost Jarvis Durr, who went to South Alabama, Lester Miller, who's at Jackson State. So they've had to try to, you know, kind of identify some guys that can play. But, I mean, Landon Barnes continues to play well at quarterback. Nate Blunt, obviously Mississippi, Alabama All-Star product. He's done a really good job. And, you know, they found some and identified some young guys. Tyson Robinson is a guy, wears number 17. He is a really, really talented running back, 9th grade kid. They moved up 2 weeks ago that they're really, really high on. And last night, I mean, Brandon really kind of looked the part of what Brandon looked like last year. I mean, you know, they're on a 4-game winning streak, and Offense is rolling, defense is doing great, but they get the test of all tests going down to Oak Grove next week.
Well, Oak Grove, I mean, George, what was that? What was that final we had?
I believe it was 45-35 over Meridian.
And I was shocked by that, to hear that Meridian was able to hang that many points on Oak Grove.
Yeah, that is impressive. But, and we all know this. Marcus Boyles is a heck of a coach. Daniel Hill, the very talented running back at Meridian, I mean, he's arguably the best in the state. He'll play SEC football. So, and Greg, you know this. I mean, over there at Pearl, I mean, this region 3-7A is as deep as you're going to get. You got 6 teams that are very, very good. So, I mean, it's going to be a heck of a run over the next month to see who makes the playoffs out of this region.
And Brandon, you said goes Oak Grove?
Yes, to Oak Grove next week. So, I mean, it'll be when these two get together. I mean, it's always a fun game. It's always a very physical game, and down there it's going to be very tough for Brandon. But I mean, coming off a 4-game winning streak, this is where Brandon's got everything in front of them, and this is kind of where they wanted to be.
Well, they are set up pretty nicely. Again, with the abbreviated region schedule, where you only play 5 games out of that region. Now, every win is a premium.
No, there's no doubt about it. And I was talking to somebody about that last night, and Perfect Green, who does obviously color commentary for us, not having obviously, last year Warren Central was in the region, they stayed at 6A. Terry was in the region, they stayed at 6A. Now down, every win is magnified. Now you need to win every game that you can, because those playoff spots are a premium.
Yeah, it is really kind of interesting. We've played, all these tough kind of, non-divisional games. Now all of a sudden you're in division play, and really every game is just almost critical.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I wish Terry was still in the region. They lost 2-0 last night.
God, can you believe that? I mean, the Mississippi high school football, that takes you back to the 3-2 state Auburn game, right?
Yeah, it really does. And the way football is played today, that's just almost that's a very unusual score for sure.
Yeah,
all right.
Hey, let me ask you this before I get out of here.
Sure.
I mean, it seems like 7A, and Greg, you and George, you can opine on this. It's 7A top to bottom. With Starkville going down tonight to Germantown, Tupelo obviously, going down, winning, but they seem, kind of a formidable opponent. Like 7A top to bottom, you go down to the Gulfport area. Gulfport plus, you look at what Ocean Springs was able to do over the first few weeks. Like 7A is really wide open this year.
I think that we could see anybody in 7A coming out of the north side this year.
No, I think you're right.
Well, Jake, enjoy the rest of your evening off. How's that?
All right, guys. Hey, Greg, thank you so much. You enjoy the night. I will talk next week.
Hairspray. Remember, product.
I got
Keep that product.
Pick it up tomorrow.
All right, Jake Wimberly, the voice of the Brandon Bulldogs. Who do we have next, Chris?
We'll finish up this segment with Reed Vance.
Oh, hey, Reed. Dr. Reed, as Russ likes to say. The voice of the Warren Central Vikings.
Yes. How are y'all doing tonight?
We're good.
Wonderful.
How about you?
I'm doing fine. I don't use hair product because I don't have hair.
No, me either.
Just I'll just come right out and say it.
Yeah.
Those days are over.
It's called wash and wear these days.
Pretty much. Love and go. So, yeah. Warren Central came out with a big win tonight, 38-6 over Ridgeland High School, and just like they did 2 weeks ago, it's Madison Central. They got off to a hot start. First play from scrimmage, Zach Evans, 50-yard touchdown run and a fake reverse, made it 7-0. Maddox Lynch had a 1-yard touchdown run late in the first, made it 14-0. And then after Ridgeland fumbled on the next play, Aiden Greer with a 7-yard touchdown run finished the first quarter off as 21-0 Warren Central after one quarter. Maddox Lynch had a 15-yard catch for a touchdown, made it 28-0 at the half. Jonah Ardman, a 39-yard field goal, made it 31-0 mid-third. And then Richland scored a touchdown with D.K. Wallace in the fourth, and Warren Central added another one. But really, this is a game where Warren Central's defense was in the Richland backfield all night long. And just another outstanding effort by this Viking defense that shut down this Ridgeland football team tonight.
Well, Reed, for those that don't know, Maddox Lynch is I don't even know what to call him in high school football. He is a man among boys in many of the contests he is.
He really is. He's only a junior. He's 6'5", 234. He'll be playing on Saturday somewhere in a couple of years. He made a catch tonight that the Nash Morgan has developed a really good arm at quarterback, and he's just a sophomore. Lynch went up over two defenders about 15 yards downfield. I don't know how he made the catch, other than he's 6'5", 234. But he's an absolute beast. He's actually now he's got 2 passing touchdowns this year because he can play quarterback, and he's got a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown tonight. He's pretty good.
Warren Central is definitely on the right track, and man, those Vikings, we talk about them being dangerous every year. Well, this year might be the one that they wind up in the state championship.
Yeah, they're title contenders this year, and they got Vicksburg next week.
That'll be a great matchup. Reed, thanks for calling. We look forward to your call next week.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.
All right. Support for Friday Night Under the Lights comes from the State Treasury of Mississippi and College Savings Mississippi, the administrators of the Mississippi Affordable College Savings Plan. We'll be back with more Friday Night Under the Lights in just a moment.
And cruised in this 14.
Well, who do you have next week?
We will be at home taking on West Harrison. They were playing Hancock tonight. The last score we saw on that, Hancock was up in that game by a couple of scores. So, we'll have West Harrison this week home.
Okay. Well, Picayune, they a couple of losses. Of course, the school from Baton Rouge, we talked about that. I think the other loss was to Ocean Springs. Is that correct?
Yeah, and Mr. Hare himself, Jake talks about that earlier. That Jake's got some hair, don't he?
Oh, my gosh. Jealousy is why I call it.
I'm going to go to his house. I think he's got 13 in the bucket out there somewhere. Greg, you go check that out for us. We want to get a report on that.
I will do my best. But
anyway,
is it hard, hey, Reed, is it hard with Pascagoula sitting there? Hancock, they're perennially one of the tops down there. Is it hard for them to not look past, you don't play them until the end of the season, the last game of the regular season, in between, West Harrison, Long Beach, George County. I think it's all kind of leading up to that Hancock game.
Well, I'm going to say this, guys, and Coach Gardner, since he took over, he does this every week. He puts it on the board. They come in the dressing room, field house, 0-0. That's our record. and he means that, and they approach it that way. I really don't think this team will look ahead. I think the week off got them refocused. Played a brutal preseason schedule, made them a lot better. It kind of grounded them a little bit, and I don't think they'll look ahead because, every week in this league you can get beat. And I'm going to say this, West Harrison next week, Quincy Patrick's done a good job bringing that program back to the forefront. Of course, you mentioned Hancock. Neil Lawler, a good friend of mine, we talk every Friday on our In the Huddle show, and we cover their games as well with WRJW. But they got a good football team. They got a couple of guys that made the All-Star game, But George County, man, don't overlook that bunch down there. And that's a good football team. They have got a lot of talent on that team. The guys that left came back, and they're scoring a lot of points. There's still some tough games ahead. The Hancock game could end up being that game you're talking about, Greg, and George. But I tell you what, TC's not going to look ahead at all. That's for sure. They're going to know how to focus and play next week. So, hey, two quick things, guys. I know you got a lot of callers. Tonight we got our all-region kicker from last year, Morgan Kraft. He's been out with a knee surgery, had it back in April, hurt himself in baseball, and this young man has fought his butt back. We didn't think we'd see him a decent, maybe if we made a couple rounds of the playoffs. He came back tonight. He was perfect on his extra point. In a wet, driving rain, he knocked three, hit one touchback and knocked three inside the 5. We're just so happy he's back. He's a big weapon for us going forward, so getting him back tonight was huge. And also, Todd and I want to send a special shout-out to our good friend Russell Mitchell, who played at Picayune, assistant at Picayune, did a great job at Oak Grove. He's the head coach at Germantown, and we just want to say congrats, Russell, on the big win for you and your ball club tonight. We're so proud of you.
All right, Kerry, thanks so much for being with us and your report, and we look forward to talking to you next week.
All right, Greg, get the report on the 1313, please.
Yes, I absolutely will.
All right, I think we got a call. Chris?
Coach Devin Cooper.
Yes.
A man who knows a little bit about playing in the rain, as last night his Cougars defeated the Pearl Pirates 21-13. Coach Cooper, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing great, guys. How are y'all?
Doing well.
I'm doing a little bit better today because, I'm the play-by-play for the Pearl Pirates, and boy, did your kids play great last night.
Man, I think, all the kids did, both sides. There's a ton of effort on that field, and I think everybody can leave there knowing they're a little better after that game or going to get better moving forward. It was always tough when you have to travel to Pearl and play them at Ray Rogers.
Well, hey, Devin, I know before you get into talking about your kids, you also won the Thanksgiving rights game last night because Coach Justin Hunter for Pearl is Devin's brother-in-law.
Okay.
And this now makes it 2 in a row for you. And Justin said he may not be coming to Thanksgiving dinner.
He'd be there. Hey, my mom would get on his head. He knows he better be there. But no, man, I love him. My sister, she also works there, and man, two of the best people you can know. And he's done a great job with that bunch. It just things went our way at the right times in that one.
Well, really, Northwest, not known for its defense, you guys truly did bend but did not break last night, and you forced Pearl into a couple of field goals instead of letting them get touchdowns, and that really turned out to be the big difference in the ball game.
Yeah, and I talked to Justin about that. We actually talked this morning, and we've honestly this year we've had a really good year defensively, and I told him, I said, man, that was the biggest physical battle I felt like we've had at this point. It was they handled us in the trenches, and we were able to find a way in the red zone and get close to that area to come up with stops and get them into fourth down and get to those field goals and come up with a couple turnovers. Man, it's just the way the games flow. There's a lot of effort on the field, just the things kind of flowed our way at the right time.
Devin, with the reduced number of teams in the region now, you go from 8 to 6. Every region game is at a premium. Every win is at a premium, and this kind of puts you in a good position going forward, does it not?
It does. We talked about that team. I said, you just got to know this game can keep you in a driver's seat position, or it's going to put you in the passenger seat. It doesn't put you in the back seat yet. So whether you win or lose out when you're not in the back seat, but it keeps you behind the steering wheel, and that's where you want to be as long as possible. And with as tough of a region as we have, this district, it's brutal. So you need to cherish every win you get with that one, and then you also got to lock in and move on to the next one, because if you don't, then you'll find yourself getting hurt the next week.
Devin, one of the interesting scores that has come in tonight, Oak Grove and Meridian. Oak Grove prevailed 45-35, I believe it was, George.
That's right.
I mean, that's kind of surprising to me to see that Meridian put up that many points on that, basically a college team down there in Oak Grove.
Yeah, I was actually able to watch some of the live stream of that, man. And Daniel Hill is just a monster of a guy. And they've got a lot of talent around him, and everybody knows Coach Boyles is going to always have a team ready to play, and so it's a dangerous mix. And I think they're finding things that work for them. And man, it's a lot when you got to stop a young man that can win the 100-meter hurdle in 6A and also win the powerlifting meet in 6A at the same time.
Oh, and congratulations. You get to play them next week.
That's right.
But at least they're coming to your place, right?
Man, yeah, we're going to get ready the best we can. Maybe we can slow him down a little bit. It's going to be hard to stop that man.
All right. Coach Cooper, thank you so much. Congratulations on your big win this week, and thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you having me.
Hey, and save Justin a drumstick.
I'll do it. He's got the first spot if he wants.
All right. Chris, do we have another call?
Yeah, we'll fit Harold in here before we go to break. Here's Harold to talk about pedal.
Okay. Harold, you had a game, Thursday night game against Brandon.
With the guy that we just heard from, so
right.
I tell you, it rained up there, but we've got a young squad, and I've been hearing I've got to treat somebody nice when he comes down here next week. So I don't know about that, Greg, but I'd like to get to meet you when you come down next week.
Absolutely, the Pearl Pirates come down there to play pedal.
That's our homecoming next week too, buddy.
Oh, terrific!
But, it's something to see that Meridian hung with Oak Grove tonight, and guys, it's something that could happen. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to make no predictions. Greg's saying how it's going to be next week in that ball game. It could be, it could be a good ball game for both squads. But we're young, but we've got a great staff here. They'll have them ready to play. All the great people here in Petal are fantastic.
Well, Russ always talks about playing down there. It's a great stadium, great atmosphere. So I'm sure it'll be a great matchup.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, too. Y'all got a nice-looking stadium up in Pearl. I come up to Pearl last year when we come up there to see y'all, to play y'all. And y'all got a nice little facility up there, buddy.
Well, thank you, Ben. Here's a little tidbit for anybody that goes to Petal or has not been there. It is 97 steps from the field to the top of the press box there.
Yes, it is.
Oh, my gosh. I'm drinking an oxygen tank.
All right, guys.
All right. Thanks a lot.
We'll talk to y'all next week, next Friday night.
Appreciate it, Harold. Thank you for calling in. All right. Support for Friday Night Under the Lights comes from Malone Roofing. They do roofing, metal walls, and maintenance serving Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and Florida's Panhandle. You can go to their website and learn out more about commercial and residential roofing information at ecmalone.com. Back with more in just a moment.
Here's George and Greg, and George with some scores updated.
All right, real quickly, Chris. Biloxi Gulfport defeated Biloxi tonight by the score of 42-0. That was a big game on the coast. West Point over Corinth by the score of 49-14. It was Ocean Springs on another Gulf Coast score. Ocean Springs over D'Iberville by the score of 43-13. Hazelhurst defeated McGee 22-19. Jackson Prep over PCS by the score of 49-0. It was Laurel edging Stone 14-12. George County 48, Long Beach 7. It was Velma Jackson remaining undefeated. They beat McAdams 47-6. Probably one of the games of the night, maybe not the game, but maybe one of the games. Hartfield Academy is now 9-0. They defeated MRA by the score of 63-56. I still can't figure out how in the world in a high school game you can score that many points. But that's what happened.
I mean, you got two high-powered offenses, and I didn't think Hartfield's was that powerful. You know, when you're going up against a Herbert Davis MRA squad, and man, tip your cap. You know, the Hawks.
That sounds like Noah giving us an eight-man
game.
score.
Yeah,
we're used to that
right.
69, 50-something. But
well, not an 11-man, not against those caliber of teams. But anyway, Oak Grove defeated Meridian 45-35. It was Oxford over Horn Lake 28-14. Sebastopol defeated Philadelphia 34-25. Picayune 51, Pascagoula 14. Warren Central won over Ridgeland 38-6. It was Simmons remaining undefeated. They beat Leland tonight 42-0. Germantown upset Starkville 34-33 was the score there. Jackson,
that's amazing.
That's an accomplishment. That's probably one of the biggest wins Germantown's ever had.
Well, I think so, and that's got to be the upset of the night, undoubtedly.
Probably. Jackson Academy over Starkville Academy 29-7. Tupelo edged Madison Central 14-12. Forest won over Union 28-14. Wayne County defeated East Central 30-14. West Lauderdale over Taylorsville 35-24. And that's enough for right now. Chris, we want to flip it to you for a special feature tonight.
Right. When we had the press conference for the MAC All-Stars, and they were announcing them and the coaches, Russ interviewed Hayden Wolf. He's the catcher for
Kicker.
Clinton. I'm sorry, catcher.
Too much softball.
Yeah, too much softball, yes. Kicker for Clinton High School, and he has a special program going on, so we're going to listen to the interview.
Okay.
Joining us on Friday night under the lights is a very special young man who's done a very special thing this year in his football tour of duty, I guess we would call it. We're talking to Hayden Wolf of the Clinton High School football Arrows. And Hayden, first of all, before we talk about what you did, talk about your kicking game and your season this year.
Yes, sir. So this season we've kind of struggled with, just getting our offense going. And so there's been just a bunch of punts. It's hard to get recognized as a kicker whenever you're just punting all the time. And so you just got to do your best whenever you're out on the field and make the most of every chance you get.
I think I vaguely remember seeing a guy by the name of Corey working out in the yard with you. Did Dad help in your career?
Oh, yeah. My dad, look, so we'll go out to the high school, it seems like almost every weekend, and we'll just put in the work, and he'll be my shagger, and he loves it. He loves kicking. He's the real reason I started. So it's just such a blessing to have him as a dad that supports me so much and just wants me to be so successful in what I'm doing. So I really appreciate him.
What would you say to young kids out there that want to become kickers? What would you suggest they do?
Being a kicker is everybody kind of judges it as such an easy thing, with quotation marks on that. Such an easy thing, and they'll put stuff on social media and just kind of dog them. And it's not easy. It's a grind. Being accurate and just having a leg that goes with that accuracy is definitely unique and uncommon to have. So what I want to say to those that want to be a kicker that are young is you got to put in the work. It's not going to come quick, and so just staying with it and knowing what you're capable of, and just working hard is the main thing with that.
This year, let's talk about what you've done. Talk to me about the idea, where it came from, and how you put it together.
So it's called Kick-A-Wish, and it came from me and my dad were watching the NFL draft, and the first pick in the draft was announced by a Make-A-Wish kid, and I thought that was so cool. So I decided, hey, I wanna help do something like that. And so what we came up with was, Kick-A-Wish, me being a kicker and all, and I wanted to use my abilities to help out those kids in critically ill conditions. So what we came up with was we were going to take field goals and kickoffs and PATs and punts and try to use that to help gain or make money for Make-A-Wish kids. And so through that, every field goal, 3 points, $300, PAT, 1 point, $100, every kickoff in the end zone, touchback, $100, and punts that are 50 yards from the line of scrimmage or down inside the 20 are also $100. And so we'll have game sponsors for those. And then outside of that, we have parents and family and relatives just donating. And so it's
How much have you raised?
So our goal is $12,000, and so far we're in week 6 and we've raised over half. So we're at $6,200-ish, I think.
That is awesome. But anybody can donate if they want to, can
Anybody can donate. That's right. We have barcodes everywhere on social media. You can find it. And we also have bracelets that we give out. So
you get that information on Friday Night Under the Lights, and we'll stick it on our website, and maybe we'll have some more money rolling in for you. That is a great idea. It really it brings it home, doesn't it? I mean, to know who you're raising it for.
Yes, sir. It does. It's and it's one of those things where, like, whenever the season's over, I want to be able to celebrate with those kids because it's so awesome, and I want to be able to kind of be with them whenever they're in that time of just joy, you know.
Well, you've got a position on the Miss Al football roster, and playing down at the Rock. Have you ever kicked down at the University of Southern?
Can't say that I have. Well, I've kicked on their grass practice fields from a visit that I had, and that's about it. So I haven't played on their new turf.
Well, what's the feeling going through you right now about that? I know you got half the season left for Clinton, but it's got to feel pretty good to be in there.
Well, it's a really big honor and just blessing. I want to thank my parents and coaches first and foremost, but mainly I want to thank the Lord for giving me these gifts that I have and the opportunities that come, and you know, it's awesome.
Hayden Wolf, who's place kicker, punter extraordinaire for the Clinton High School Eras, and has really done a marvelous thing here with, now what's the name of it again?
Kick-A-Wish.
Kick-A-Wish, and you're taking donations from everywhere. So you send that to Friday Night Under the Lights, and will get a lot of donations from everywhere else, too.
Yes, sir.
Hayden Wolf with us here on Friday Night Under the Lights. We'll be back with more in a moment.
Chris, thank you for that. And that was at
we did it at the press conference Wednesday.
Okay.
You know what's awesome about that is to see the perspective that a young man already has, and wanting to pay it forward and to be that selfless. I mean, that is just a fantastic story.
Yeah, and very creative too, you know. I mean, it's a very creative way of approaching a fundraiser like that.
Well, it'll help inspire Clinton to score more points so that he can get out there and kick.
Yeah, they could use that. You know, before they had played Terry, I think they'd only scored 42 points. And they get put 28 up on Terry, which apparently was a pretty good accomplishment because Wes Jones had a hard time. Didn't only score a safety this past Thursday night. So anyway, but a good story, and certainly wish him well and great success.
Yeah, good job, Hayden. We'll be all rooting for you, no matter what school you root for.
A couple of more scores, and we've almost got a break at the top of the hour. Forest Hill defeated Pearl River Central tonight by the score of 30-27. Hancock defeated West Harrison by the score of 42-26. I don't think I'd mentioned that one before. Let's see, Natchez defeated North Pike 39-35. I still can't get over that Hartfield 63-56 over MRA. Now, that's going to grab some people's attention.
I mean, that's the ultimate shocker of the night. And while we'll give it to Germantown that they're the upset of the night, I don't necessarily count Hartfield as an upset because they and MRA were very evenly matched. But just to see them light up the scoreboard like that.
Yeah.
I almost expect to see that from an MRA.
Yes. I mean, they've played some high-scoring games. I mean, that, against Pulaski of Little Rock, against Oak Grove, I think they scored in the 40s against both of them. But, that's really impressive.
I mean, they're running a Miami Dolphins offense out there on Lakeland Drive tonight. That was really quite something.
Yeah, it's kind of humbling. The NFL can be humbling. They win, they score 70 points, and then they lose the next week.
Yeah, well, that's when you got to go to Buffalo. That tends to happen.
All right. Well,
hey, who was Independence playing? I want to let you know about
Independence.
Independence won their game tonight, 30-28, on a Hail Mary.
Okay.
Independence wins it 30-28. They're now 5-2. The Wildcats are 2-0 in 3A Region 2.
Okay. I don't see it right now. I'll find it on this break.
Good for Independence, because that's anytime you win on a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
Man.
All right. Well, we'll be back in just a moment. We'll remind you that support for Friday Night Under the Lights comes from Cricket Wireless. Phones, plans, and coverage information can be found on their website, which is cricketwireless.com. Back with more in just a moment.
And we're back. It's the top of the hour. Our first hour's gone away. A lot of things was said in that first hour. We'll see if we'll match up with hour two. Got a couple of callers on the phone, so when you're ready, tell me, George, but it's up to you.
Let's go ahead. Let's go to our first caller. I believe it's Jared Schatz.
Jared Schatz to talk about Germantown. Here's Jared.
I want to hear about this.
Gentlemen, how are you tonight?
All right.
Jared, excellent game there by the Mavericks. How did they do it over Starkville?
Guys, I tell you, I hope they have enough cops in the small town of Brookstadt tonight, because they may burn this place to the ground.
Well, that's too nice to burn.
Well, Greg, I'm glad you're filling in tonight, doing a great job. The whole crew. It's good to talk to you guys. I'll tell you, it's the biggest win in this program's history. I don't think there's any doubt about that. They did it by running the Wildcat offense, the Wild Maverick, about 90% of the time tonight. They had a young sophomore by the name of Nye Johnson who ran for 248 yards and 3 touchdowns. He was just absolutely phenomenal. And Coach Russ Mitchell, only in his second year at Germantown, he told me in the pregame coaches show, he said, look, Jared, if we can run the football, that's one thing. And then the other thing, it's that double-edged sword. How patient can we be with staying with the run game? The coaches did a phenomenal job of a game plan, and they did stay with the run, and they ran it for nearly 350 yards tonight on Starkville. We didn't stop those guys but a couple of times, but one time was a turnover on downs, and the last time was an interception to seal the deal. They actually led at halftime in the ball game. They led 27-21, and they got the football to start the second half. And we were thinking, look, we've got to somehow find a stop on these guys, and we were able to do that. Trey Petty is as good as advertised. Everybody saw him in the state championship against Brandon last year. That offense is phenomenal. They haven't missed a beat. I will say they probably lost a lot of kids. I know they've lost a lot of kids on defense. And Germantown's game plan and execution was just flawless tonight running the football.
Well, Jared, you could see flashes of brilliance from this Maverick team all year. You know, when I got to see in person when Pearl came up there, they can put it all together, and when they do, you can see what happens tonight, right?
That's exactly right. I mean, Pearl's a phenomenal team. I know you guys had a tough loss last night. But you can see there's a lot of young juniors and sophomores on this team, Nye Johnson being one of those. And you just knew it was just a moment that if they could ever put it together, and we were thinking it might be towards the end of this year or next year when these guys grow up. We actually use Pearl as kind of our example. They got to learn to lose as a team, and they got to learn to win as a team. And after tonight's performance, we're just shocked. I just hope they can turn the page, because this was the opening night in district, and we've got 3 tough ball games ahead of us, but what an opening statement.
Well, you're automatically hard to believe you can say this now. The Germantown Mavericks in first place in 7A Region 2. How about that?
It's crazy. It really is, and I hope the 24-hour rule is in effect. I'm sure it is, because we've got a short week. We've got to go to Tupelo to play on the Smurf turf next week. So It's not going to get any easier. But, guys, I tell you, I have never seen Gluckstadt in that stadium like it was tonight. It was a zoo. And Starkville was in disbelief. That's a team not used to losing, but what a performance. I just hope that the young kids with this success can somehow put it behind them and get ready for these 3 tough ball games ahead.
Well, good luck with Tupelo. They had a tough one tonight. They're going to come out a little mad, I think. George, you said it was 14-12 that Tupelo beat Madison?
Yes, they beat Madison 14-12. So it doesn't really get any easier.
It doesn't. It's one of those where you never know what's going to happen this time of year, but just sit back and enjoy the ride. It's always fun.
Well, congratulations. That's a big, big win tonight for you guys.
All right, Jerry.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, George. Thanks,
all right. Look forward to talking to you next week.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
All right, Chris, we got another caller, I believe.
Josh West to talk to us about Tri-County.
It is the golden tones of Josh West.
How are you guys doing?
We're fine. How about you? I think you had a big win tonight.
Had a big win. It was Clinton Christian is a team that 5-2 coming in, 4th ranked in 4A. Tri-County looking to bounce back after that loss in that great game against Taylorsville. And so you're looking at this game going, okay, we know we've got to stop the run. They've struggled throwing the football. So they come out and throw it every play. Of course they do. And they drove it right down the field inside the 5-yard line. And there was a kind of a sideline warning that we weren't sure what happened. It was the second of the opening drive, gave them a 4th and 1. We stopped them, guys, an inch shy. 1 inch, 1 chain link, and that turned the ball game. We were able to, we went 3 and out and punted, but then got an interception, got a short field inside the red zone, scored, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. And when you looked up, it was 26-0 at the half, 46-0 the final score, and the scoring was done kind of early. And Bryce Warner finishes with 5 touchdowns, 4 on the ground, 1 through the air. Jacob Clearman had another pick 6, had another receiving touchdown, had a 70-yard punt return called back, and it just was one of those games where Clinton Christian was stunned. The wind was taken out of their sails, and they were so shocked that they just couldn't really emotionally get back into it after the half. And just dominating performance by Tri-County, really strong showing, and we were just left in awe about how well they played.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, now Tri-County has been a known product in the MAIS for years. You kind of know, they're just going to be a very traditional, strong team. CCA, as far as this level of football, is, their history is very brief. But I can see how this could be a pretty good matchup in years to come. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. So Teddy Dice is going to build that thing. They're investing in facilities. They've got a lot of momentum. One of the fastest growing schools in the league, and so that is a budding rivalry. And every year you're going, is this the year we're going to be locked into a game into the fourth quarter? And it certainly looked like that 5 minutes into the game, where we have not touched the ball, Tri-County, and we're about to be trailing. And these are the crazy stats. We were about to be trailing for the first time ever in the series history. So now when you look at the all-time series history, 9 games, 8 shutouts, 6 points allowed, and Tri-County's averaged 46.1 points per game. And they win 46-0 tonight. It's just one of those series that Clinton Christian will have that year at some point where they mentally get over the hump, and then it's going to be game on. And when that switch is flipped, so to speak, then look out. And it's starting to turn. They're 5-3 this year, and they've beaten some folks. They beat Winston. They beat Columbia Academy. They've had some wins. But, again, we expected that to kind of start turning tonight into a much more competitive series. So that's why it was so impressive what Tri-County did.
Yeah, one more question. Who do you have next week?
So next week it is another game with massive playoff implications, district championship on the line for Tri-County, and a first-round bye. Central Hines comes to town to Flora. So that is going to be a huge, huge matchup. And then in 2 weeks, you can't look ahead, but in 2 weeks, Greenville Christian is reloaded.
Yeah.
For there, and they are coming to town, a different football team, and that could have number 1 seed in the 4A bracket implications on the line for Tri-County.
Well, it's just super impressive what the Rebels have done this year. You know, they're 7-1 overall. Their only loss is to Taylorsville, and there's no slouch in that, and you played them pretty tight. I just cannot believe the point differential between you and the opponents. You guys have scored 360 points and only given up 72 in 8 games?
And 40 of those in one game.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
40 of the 72
Yeah,
in
to
one
Taylorsville.
game.
Yeah, that was to Taylorsville. Impressive what's going on there at Tri-County.
It really is. Warner will go into next week. So his career numbers as a junior now, he's thrown for over 4,000 yards, 49 touchdowns. So if he gets a touchdown pass next week, he'll hit that 50 touchdown mark, and he's a junior.
50.
And Tri-County is 50. And you know, Tri-County's a historically running football team. So he's going to set every type of record, if he hasn't already, for passing at Tri-County, and he's got another year.
Yeah.
So Bryce Warner, top 40 quarterback in the state, 6'2", 215, and he is really developing. He's going to make somebody a good quarterback at the next level that takes a chance on him, lets him develop, and he'll continue to mature, has a chance to do some really good things.
All right, Josh, thanks so much for your call, and we appreciate the report, and we look forward to talking to you next week.
All right, thanks so much.
All right. We got a couple of minutes to go. We got another call, Chris? Or?
Yeah, let's talk to Matt Thames. He's talking about Central Holmes Academy. Hang on.
Okay.
Here's Matt.
Matt.
Hey, guys.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good, man. Had a good night tonight. Coach Mitch Womack got the Trojans back in the win column with a big win over 42-14 over the Winona Stars, and just a crazy game. They've got a 3-game stretch. They won the first game tonight of the 3-game stretch that each game, if they win, it puts them in a better seed coming into the playoffs. But tonight was a pretty wild game. As you know, it's been raining some, and they have, you know, natural grass up there. So it was one of those old-fashioned muddy football games, and real tight in the beginning. They had a 60-yard bomb from John Ward to Hudson Happy to lead off the game. And then it was back and forth a little bit. Winona came back with a power running game out of a wing T set and just were pounding it up the middle, and every once in a while they'd pop it around the outside. And then the game got pretty crazy. My son Ethan Witt had a fumble recovery for a touchdown. And then Eli Kemp blocked a punt for a touchdown. And then John Ward and Eli Kemp had rushing touchdowns that put the game away.
Well, thank you for giving us that report, Matt. Central Holmes winning over Winona Christian. We've got to run. Thank you again for your call. Call us back next week.
Thanks, Luke.
All right. Well, support for Friday Night Under the Lights comes from College Savings Mississippi, a division of the State Treasury of Mississippi. You can go to their website and find out more information about locking in today's tuition rates and prepaying college tuition. Back with more Friday Night Under the Lights in a moment.
Well, guys, we are back. We've got some callers on the phone, and the first one for you guys is Joseph Craven. Well, let me find it. Whoa, wait a second. Sorry, Ty must still be talking to him because he's not available yet for me.
Okay.
So
well,
there he is now.
There he is. Okay.
I have to wait till a certain green light.
You got the high sign from Ty behind you now.
Yeah.
Here's
Joseph.
Joseph, this can't be the right score. We're looking at something that's not right?
No, welcome to Pac-12 After Dark, my friend. That's what we're tuning into. No, I don't think I could believe it either, and I watched it happen. I wandered down after the game to several of the coaches, and I was like, guys, are we sure that was it? What did we watch?
Hartfield 63, Madison Ridgeland 56. That's insanity.
Absolutely.
How did it happen?
Was. Well, I mean, it was, the thought going into it was these were the two, probably the two top teams in MAIS 6A, and they lived up to it. They just did. It was two very good teams that were just throwing, everything at each other the whole night. Hartfield had an outstanding performance from sophomore Braylon Womack, who had two different kickoffs returned for a touchdown. On the other side, Charles Simpson, the running back for MRA, was untouchable. It seemed at any given point when they needed yardage, they could pitch the ball to him, and he was going to find the smallest of seams and make something happen out of it. So it was two heavyweight contenders in two teams that both just played outstanding games. It really was. You look at a scoreline, you assume there's no defense, but truth be told, the defenses did everything they could, and there were still points getting put on the board. So it was just an outstanding game, one that I might spend my Saturday rewatching, honestly, just to figure out what exactly I saw.
George, that was 28-28 at halftime you had?
That's what I saw. Was it 28-28 at the half?
That's it, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So tied game, yep, and then it was, very quickly Hartfield was able to get on the board, and immediately MRA answered. It was just back and forth. It was a thriller. There's no other word for it. It was a great game.
Well, let me ask you one question. What about the crowd? I heard some reports about the crowd. It was a big crowd there.
It is, and if you've never been out to the Hartfield campus where Community Bank Field is, it's kind of a bowl shape.
Uh-huh.
So it means that, the bleachers are filled, but then there's tailgate tents set up behind the end zones. But then there's also fans that line up the grassy hill on the visitor side. Everywhere you went, it was a loaded crowd. I think most of Madison County and Rankin County showed up for the ball game tonight. I saw I think Northwest Rankin played last night, so I saw a lot of Northwest Rankin T-shirts at the game as well. People with no ties to either school knew that it was going to be a great game to watch, and so it was an electrifying crowd, a great environment.
Yeah. Well, no rest for the weary, because now you got to face Jackson Prep. You go right down. Well, it's a road game, but you have to go like 2 miles down the road to Jackson Prep next week.
Yes, I always referred to it as the Battle of Flowwood. Some people say the Battle of Lakeland Drive. I don't know if it has a technical name, but we're going to have to figure out some sort of real name for that rivalry. That's it. If there are 3 favorites, I think, to compete for the 6A title in MAIS, it's Hartfield, MRA, and Jackson Prep. So, yeah, they're exactly what you said. No rest for the weary. You have to immediately turn around after a game where you scored 63 but also gave up 56, and turn around and say, well, now we got to play an entirely different team in Jackson Prep that is always hard-nosed, very disciplined, always execute to perfection. And then after that, it's on the road to Madison St. Joe. And then we close up the season with Jackson Academy at home. So this is it. It's a lot going down to the wire here in 6A.
Well, I think it's fair to say that next week's game will probably be for the top seed going into the playoffs. That's what's on the line next week.
Yes, absolutely. And I believe, I'm trying to remember how the rest of their schedule works out and who they have played or not played in the division so far. But that's the general thought process. And then I think the consensus also amongst most people is kind of an expectation that 1 and 2, likely Hartfield or MRA, Jackson Prep kind of maybe viewed as the third, not by any fault of their own, but just kind of dealing with maybe some injuries they're trying to overcome, all of that.
Well, they won 49-0 tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's where you look at it and you're like, well, okay, we take the prep from last week that kind of had to play against West Jones, obviously, a good team and all that, but also, or the prep from this week that came back and won, and dominated. So, yeah, it's a lot. So the 1, 2, 3 between those three teams is definitely up for grabs. Next week could go a long way, and I mean it could either lead to a Hartfield MRA on opposite sides of the schedule, or Hartfield Jackson Prep on opposite sides of the schedule. MRA may sneak back in if Hartfield, it's just it's going to be fun to watch these last couple weeks.
It's going to be very entertaining. Joseph, thank you so much for that report. We really enjoyed it, and we look forward to talking to you next week.
Absolutely. Y'all have a great weekend.
All right, you too.
Enjoy that replay tomorrow.
All right. Chris, who do we have next?
Tommy Barnett.
Tommy giving us a report on Jackson Academy, and I believe they had a victory tonight over Starkville Academy.
Sure did, guys. Yeah, it was homecoming tonight at JA, and huge crowd on hand, and really playing Starkville Academy, a really solid, gritty 5A team. I think they came in at 6-1, guys, and first quarter was really kind of a defensive slugfest. Things kind of got turned around. Jay had a huge fourth down stop. Starkville actually going in the score to take the lead. Jay gets a huge fourth down stop. Has about a 9-play drive to go up 7-0. Ensuing kickoff, Coach Blackwell kind of dials up the trick and onside kick, and Jay recovers and marches that one in 5 plays later. So, in the matter of really about 3 minutes of playing time, it was, 0-0 ball game to 14-0 JA. And really, Jay just did a really good job tonight putting the clamps down defensively. Starkville didn't break the 150-yard mark until late fourth quarter. So really just a nice, really dialed-in performance by our men tonight. And Carter Matheson, the sophomore quarterback, had a really good game, over 200 yards and a touchdown. Keandre Terry, the wide receiver, D1 commit to Arkansas State. Guys, he had 5 catches for 123 yards tonight.
That's a good average.
Yeah, that's a good night at the office.
Well, Jackson Academy, now good luck. You now have to play MRA next week.
Yeah, thanks, Hartfield. Yeah, we actually traveled down to where I come, the Old Kenton Road Patriots, and it'll be a big crowd. I'm sure Coach Herbert and Herb Davis and John Weaver, those guys will have them ready to rock and roll and have them back on track next week.
Well, you score 56 points in a high school game. You're supposed to win, right?
Yeah.
I was actually joking with a couple of my Jay dads. I was like, well, did Ole Miss and LSU show up on Lake 5 tonight?
Yeah.
It sounded like, of course, hearing Mr. Craven talk about it, I mean, I know both offenses are very explosive for those teams, but it sounded like, defense was optional tonight.
Yeah, it did sound like that. But anyway, some great games, and congratulations on Jackson Academy's victory tonight. And, Tommy, we look forward to talking to you and getting a report on next week's game.
Sounds good. Thanks, George.
All right. Thanks, Tommy. All right. I think we got time for another caller.
Yeah, we'll get Granny in. Here you go.
Granny.
Hey, George and Greg, how y'all doing?
Terrific. Tell us where you went tonight.
I started out at Stringer, and they won. They beat Southeast Lauderdale 26-20 in overtime. I watched the quarter of that one.
Okay.
I rode up to Bay Springs, and I got there at halftime. It was 20-7 Bay Springs. And Cartdale come out there in the third quarter, and they just run it right at them all the way down to the field and cut it to 20-14. And that was about as close as they got. But, it stayed it was 28-20 at one time. But Bay Springs pulled it out 44-20. It was two brothers coaching against each other. Cartdale had Bubba Brandon, and Bay Springs had Dan Brady. Their brothers going up against each other. And I always like to see that rivalry.
Well, Bay Springs is now 6-1, so they're having quite a season.
Yeah, they're doing well. They're first in their division. And I'm telling you, they could win it all again this year. They've got the guys to do it. They were a little bit too much for Cartdale tonight. They're real athletic, and Cartdale hung with them best they could. Give them credit, but Bay Springs just a little too much tonight.
Well, I can't wait to read Granny's book that I know he's going to write one day on high school football in Mississippi.
Hey, y'all was talking about that 2-0 score last night.
Yes.
I mean, back when I was playing back in the mid-'80s, I won a game 2-0.
You did?
I did.
Football?
Football. The punter went down to get the ball for the team we were playing when I was a stringer, and his knee hit the ground, and the referee blowed it dead. Final score 2-0.
Well, now you played for Stringer?
I did.
Okay. All right. Well,
I did. And go ahead.
That's how you know all these places to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I won a game 3-0 one time that same year.
I've heard these
3-0 and 2-0.
I've heard these scores in football, but it's FUTBOL when you get those 2-0, 3-0 soccer games.
Yeah.
Yeah. I told our head coach I'd take 10 wins, 10-0 season, every score 2-0.
That's the thing about soccer. A 0-0, a 0-0 tie can be a great game.
Oh, it's considered a great game. Yeah, no thank you.
Greg, I liked the Sun to Pearl last night. I almost come up there, but I didn't.
Well, save it. Come for Brandon in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I got a couple of buddies listening, like Jim Curvin and Earl Hodge. I hope they are listening. I hope they enjoy this show.
All right. Thank you so much, Granny. We'll look forward to your reports later on in the season. We got to take another break. We'll remind you that support for Friday Night Under the Lights comes from the Office of the Mississippi State Treasurer. There's an unclaimed property division that has a searchable database that has cash and stocks waiting for the rightful owner to claim. Access to the database, you go to treasury.ms.gov. So that might be something you need to check out. So we'll be back with more Friday Night Under the Lights in just a moment.
And we're back. It's the 11:30 hour. It's time for the Crazy Eights with Noah Crow. Here he is, George.
Noah, thanks for joining us.
Noah?
Yep.
Hey, good evening. Did we wake you?
I did not.
Okay, all right. Where were you tonight, Noah?
I was at Humphreys Academy as they played Deer Creek, where Deer Creek won 46-34.
Okay. Give us a report on, you normally give us a rundown of all the 8-man games, so give us some scores.
Calhoun Academy beat Marble Academy 50-6. Delta Academy beat Hebron Academy 46-18. Kemper beat Mississippi Phoenix 46-0. 7-0 Sharkey's Aquina lost to 8-0 Porter's Chapel 44-42. Briarsville beat River Oak School 52-28. Prairie View beat Claiborne Academy 44-6. Tallulah beat Prentice 30-20. Franklin beat Union 62-0. Spencer Christian beat Kennesaw 54-14. Riverdale beat Wilkerson County Christian School 40-14. DeSoto Academy beat West Memphis Christian School 60-14. Newton Academy beat North Sunfire Academy 42-12. Christian Collegiate beat Park Place 44-10. And our game of the week, Deer Creek School beat Humphreys Academy 46-34.
Well, again, every week I always ask you, which one of those games did you find was a surprise? Did it all go according to plan, or was there a surprise in there?
It wasn't really a surprise, but I thought it would be. I thought Porter Chapel versus Sharkey's Aquina, both teams coming in undefeated. I thought it was going to be a higher scoring game than what it was. I thought both teams were going to be in the 60s.
Okay, well, 8-man football, 46-44 is kind of average.
I mean,
right?
it sounds to me that this 8-man football, this is like arena football. You just get scoring after scoring after scoring, right?
It is. It's just scoring after scoring. That's what our game was for the first 3 quarters.
I tell you, they got to be highly entertaining to go to these eight game.
Russ is just enthralled with it. I mean, because it is just that. It is just scoring after scoring after scoring, because it's so difficult to play defense because the space that you have to cover and if you miss a tackle, it's over.
Well, you weren't kidding when you were talking about the MRA Hartfield game tonight being a 8-man score.
That is an 8-man score.
Noah, did you hear that score tonight from MRA and Hartfield?
I have not.
63-56.
Yeah, Hartfield won.
So it was the Ole Miss versus LSU high school game.
Yeah, it's very, very typical. Very typical. All right, I know you have an interview lined up for us. Let's introduce that for us.
The interview is with Coach Jerry Wayne McClendon, the head coach of Humphreys Academy.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to play it now. Thanks, Noah.
Humphreys Academy took it on the chin tonight, 34-46 over Deer Creek. I'm here with Coach Jerry Wayne McClendon. I know it wasn't the performance your team wanted, but how do you think of your team?
We played our best game tonight. Out of all the games we played this year, this was the best we played, a complete game. We give up a couple big plays in the second half, which was a killer, and we didn't score on the second half on our first drive, which was another killer, but overall, this is our best game we played all year. They were a better team than us, and we hung with them for the most part.
What did Deer Creek do in the second half to stop your offense from scoring?
Well, my quarterback was a little jittery. we threw the ball. We really didn't step up in the pocket and throw it like we were supposed to. We threw it off our back foot running when we should have stepped up in the pocket and threw it. But he's just a 10th grader, and he's going to get better and better. So he's probably one of my better players too. So he's going to get there. But he still had a good game, but he's not his best throwing game tonight.
What is it like, going off that, what is it like to have a player like Steele that can do it all on the field? Throwing, passing, running, defense?
I really wish I had about 8 of him, but he's last year he weighed 125 pounds. He got in the weight room, got on the power pool, and now he weighs 150. So in 1 year he's put on some weight and a lot of muscle, and he's going to work hard. Baseball is a sport, but he loves football, so he's going to give you all he's got every time out there, and he does. At halftime in there, he threw up about 12 times. So he come right back out here and never missed a beat.
And what is it like to have a guy like number 7 who's able to catch every pass that's being thrown to him?
They was holding him an awful lot tonight. They grabbed his shirt and pulled it off of him a bunch of times, but this is high school football, and they're not going to call everything. But this was his best game of the year, I promise you. I just moved him to tight end this week, and he had a great game. He's a big sophomore, so I'm looking forward to a couple of more years with him too.
And what do you hope your team takes away from this game into next week?
That we do have a chance. You know, they've been beat down so bad all year, and they got a little taste of it under their belt tonight. So next week maybe they'll take over and I hope we get a win next week against North Sunflower, but they're about the same as Deer Creek, so it'll be the same deal. But they did get a little taste of scoring and being ahead and all that under the belt, so maybe it'll work. I get a couple of players back next week that I was out this week, so maybe that'll help.
Good luck on the rest of the season.
Thank you, sir.
I'm here at Rex of Cricket Wireless that's helping make all this possible. What is it about the community that Cricket Wireless is so ingrained to?
No, I'm glad you asked me that. Cricket really believes that the community is the backbone. We spend a lot of time listening to the customers via surveys, online data, and that's how we come up with different things, different promotions. And speaking of community, being involved in different events like this. So again, Cricket knows that the community is the backbone.
And tell us more about that Cricket Wireless QR code.
And what is it about?
The QR code with Cricket Wireless. Stop by any Cricket Wireless location and scan the QR code. It's just bridging that digital gap. You can try Cricket for 14 days, risk-free. If you like the service, which we know you will, you can keep it. You get assigned your own phone number, so you don't have to worry about losing your current phone number. Just step into any one of our Cricket locations. We can take care of you.
And it's also on the FNUTL website. If you go to FridayNightUnderTheLights.com, it's on the website. Crazy Eights is brought to you by Cricket Wireless. Smile, your own Cricket. Department of Treasury's Unclaimed Money in Impact, Mississippi, along with Malone Roofing. From Humphreys Academy, I'm Noah Kerr.
Still there, Noah?
I am still there.
Where are you going to be next week, sir?
I will be at Calhoun Academy as they play Lee from Arkansas.
Thanks so much. Your interview was great. We're going to move on to some other callers and enjoy your trip next week. Thanks, Noah.
Yeah.
Good job, Noah.
All right. Chris, who's up next?
Wayne Fleury.
Wayne Fleury giving us a report, I believe, on Stone.
That's right, guys. Stone and Laurel went at it tonight, opening region play, home game for the Tomcats. And I tell you, we had us a barn burner, guys. Final score 14-12.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Nice football.
It was an interesting ball game, though, guys. You know, Laurel coming in after a rather large preseason, took on some big teams. I think they were 1-5 coming into the ball game. The Tomcats were 2-3. But Coach Aycock said that was the best 1-5 team that he had seen, and it kind of played out that way. Tomcats took the opening kick and a 17-play, 67-yard drive, turned it over on downs in the red zone rather than opting for the field goal, which might come back to haunt them a little bit later. Laurel takes the ball, 68-yard pass connection. As the receiver, Ja'Cory Cook, was at the 1, Willie Breland, the senior defensive back, caught up to him, knocked the ball loose, and the Tomcats recovered in the end zone to prevent the touchdown. And they drove it 16 plays, 80 yards, and scored the touchdown and went up 6-0. Laurel eventually answered. Both teams missed their extra point, and 6-6 was our halftime score. We had a similar second half, I guess you could say. Laurel eventually scored, was going to kick an extra point. Offside penalty by the Tomcats defense caused them to rethink that and go for 2, which they converted, and it's 14-6. The Tomcats, on an ensuing drive, go down 8 plays, 37 yards, scored the touchdown with just a couple of minute and a half or so to go in the ball game. Went for 2, and the referee blew the whistle, stopped the play, even though the play was still going, and the ball carrier made it into the end zone to tie it, but they had blown it dead at the 1. So, interesting ball game. But senior defensive back Willie Breland had a heck of a game. Not only did he cause the fumble to prevent the Laurel touchdown, he had 2 interceptions, had another fumble recovery, and caught the touchdown pass from Dalen Collins out of the Tomcat formation to bring the Tomcats within 2, but it wasn't the happy part tonight.
Well, we wish you luck. You have Van Cleve next week.
Yep, on the road.
All right, well, best of luck to those Tomcats next week.
All right, thanks a lot, guys.
All right, thank you so much. The music means that we have another break coming up. We've only got 15 minutes left of the show.
Where did the time go?
I don't know where the time goes. It does this every week. Support for Friday Night Under the Lights comes from Malone Roofing. They do roofing, metal walls, maintenance, serving Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and Florida's Panhandle. Commercial and residential roofing information can be found at ecmalone.com. Back in just a moment.
And we're back, gentlemen, for the last segment
Which is going to be the lightning round, Chris, right?
It is, because we've got 4 callers, and each one of you get about 2 minutes.
Lightning round.
Here
lightning
we
football.
go, George. It's Brad Locke.
All right, Brad. Thanks for your call. Tell us about the game that you watched tonight.
Guys, you need to start paying attention to Hatley football. They're on the rise. Not something that's said often, but they hosted Bruce tonight and took a 45-32 win. Remember the name, Cason Williams. He had 201 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground, and a 73-yard kickoff return for touchdown to open the second half. That gave Hatley the lead for good at 32-26. The defense took it from there, had a couple of big fourth down stops. The offense turned those into touchdowns, and Hatley pulled away to beat a really good Bruce team. Again, 45-32. So they haven't gotten into region play yet, but Hadley looking pretty tough.
Hadley's a basketball school.
I wouldn't call them that. They're a baseball school.
Oh,
5-2 now they are in football, though.
5-2 overall. How about that? That's a good start. All right, Brad. Sorry to cut you off so quick, but we need to move on. Thanks for your report. Call us back next week.
Go Tigers.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Who we got next, Chris?
John Weaver, MRA.
John
boy.
Weaver. Gosh.
I think somebody just scored again down Lakeland Drive.
I told y'all last week I'd hate to be a defensive coordinator during this game, but it was a rough one, man, for the Patriots tonight. But, you learn from it. The Pac-12 game, the points allowed conference. But it was back and forth all night long. And we were actually driving with 28 seconds left, and Womack had a pick in the end zone. So
63-56. That's just one heck of a high school game, one that people will not soon forget.
No, and people won't, but we will soon forget it. We got to play JA next week. We're actually still at the school, and we're about to. The coach is about to watch film, so we're going to get ready for this week, learn from it, and on to the next.
Well, I'm interested in how all the seeding takes place, because this is maybe a team that you may face in the playoffs, right?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it's a weird dynamic. It's kind of who's playing the best those last 3 games. The way seeding goes, we're all going to make the playoffs, and somebody's going to play each other again. It's how you play them that second time, I think. So it's just it's how it goes. They call it the MAS 6A. I just call it the Super 6. And, the last one standing with 3 weeks left in the season. So that those last 3 weeks, or actually November, the first 3 weeks of November on Friday nights, and the championship's November 22nd. It's just who's playing the best there. But, this next 3 weeks are for seeding. We have JA coming into home next week, and then we play prep the next week. The guys, this is the first time we've been home. We've been road dogs, I swear, every time. And I looked at Coach Davis after. I was like, I'm just glad we're going to be at home. We hadn't played a home game since the beginning of September.
Wow. That's a long time.
Yep.
Well,
it is a long time.
If you guys do meet again, we'll make sure that they change all the light bulbs on the scoreboards.
Yeah, I think we burned them all out tonight. You're right.
All right, John. We got to run. Thanks for your call.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I know you do.
Yeah,
I appreciate
it. All right.
Yeah,
all right, who's next, Chris?
James Murphy with the Daily Journal.
All right, James, tell us which game you're calling in about.
I didn't have a game, but I did have a couple of scores to round up. I'll just go through them rapidly.
All right.
Germantown up Starkville 34-33 on a touchdown with under 2 minutes left. West Point beat Corinth 49-14 to open up region play. North Pontotoc was 3-7 last year. They already have win number 4 this year after beating West Lowndes 29-16. Ripley dominated Tishomingo County 41-0. 35 of them came in the first quarter. Apparently, they only ran 3 offensive plays in the first quarter. They got 2 pick sixes and just rolled from there. And Clarksdale beat Lafayette 34-24.
All right, and you're from North Mississippi. The win that Tupelo had over Madison Central is significant.
Oh, 100%. They won 14-12. The Madison Central was down 14-6. Scored a touchdown late, went for a 2-point conversion to tie it and missed. I think if you're Tupelo, that is a much, much needed win, regardless of how it came. I spoke with Ty Harden the week earlier, and he was talking about how they didn't lose. The other teams didn't beat them so much as they felt like they lost, and they heading into region play, going on the road to a Madison Central team that made the North Half semifinal last year. That's a really big win for Tupelo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, James, thanks for the time. We appreciate you calling in.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, thanks so much, James. And we got one more, I believe. Chris?
Brandon Shields.
Well, you have to save the best for last, right?
The best for last.
It's the cherry on top of the show, Brandon.
Yeah, I guess you could say.
You didn't bring us any luck out there at Pearl High School last night, so where did you go tonight?
I was at Tupelo Madison Central, so I was at the game. Yeah, Tupelo won 14-12. Defensive game. Both teams barely had 200 yards of offense. Like Murphy just said, the Daily Journal guy. Yeah, Madison scored 23 seconds left on a Glenn Singleton 1-yard run that capped off a turnover. Madison forced a fumble at the Tupelo 35-yard line. They scored, went for two, and the pass was receiver caught it, but his knee was down.
And he wasn't in the end zone. He was out. It was outside the end zone.
It was like 1 yard line.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. I think if his knee doesn't touch, he may score.
Yeah, that and it's not just that. It's the throw was higher.
Okay,
I mean, that's literally what it was. So,
Brandon, that's what's been interesting to me in talking to Coach Collins about it, is his offense remains a work in progress, and the defense has really been carrying them this year.
Yeah, that was kind of the goal coming in. I mean, obviously we're 8 weeks in the year, but me and him, he talked about the game. He said, we're just finding ways to lose. We need to find ways to win. So it's just, that's how it's been for them lately. I mean, they got, I think, Murrah next week on Thursday, so that'll be interesting. And the Pearl game last night, Northwest making 121-13. Pearl turned the ball over 4 times. I mean, twice in the first half, but I'm 100% because of the rain.
Yeah.
Bad snaps, all that stuff. So, yeah, it was a wild night tonight. Just absolutely wild. So that's just Knoxville County losing to Kemper County 48-46. I mean,
Germantown. How about Germantown? With the win of their program history.
Yeah. Beating Starkville, number 3 ranked team. Meridian taking Oak Grove to the wire like they did. Neshoba Central beating Vicksburg by a point. So got a lot of soul searching to do as far as rankings go.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
I'm just interested. It just seems like, I've been doing this for a while, with Russ, and there was a time when you had certain schools that just dominated, like a South Panola and some others, but there just seems to be just so much parity this year.
Yeah, there's no clear-cut favorite in any class, really, and unless it's 6A. 6A is picking to lose.
Yeah.
And 5A is less points.
But there's some good teams in 6A, though. I mean, Warren Central's good. West Jones is good. You could name off several more that are pretty strong in 6A.
Yeah, and you got, like you said, South Knoll. I mean, Centerville, kind of a sleeper team this year. I mean, Warren Central, Vicksburg's not bad, even though they lost tonight. They're not a bad team. Terry's not bad. I mean, 2-0. I mean, and had a touchdown call back last night. So it is what it is. I mean, it got a lot of good teams, and I mean, the lower the class, the more wide open it gets, and that's just how it is. I mean, so it's going to be a fun year. These final, this is a halfway point for the year, and so from here on out, we kind of get to. Some teams will separate themselves, and some teams are going to be fighting to get in the playoffs. So it's going to be fun.
Hey, Brandon, with what they've done with 7A, I mean, there is going to be really no separation, I think, just the way that it's laid out. Everybody's going to be so bunched trying to compete for these 4 playoff spots out of 6 teams.
Yeah, I mean, and speaking of the Tupelo Madison, I mean, that's a 5-team region, so one team's going to be missing the playoffs. So that's going to be kind of interesting to figure out, especially now that Germantown's beating Stark. I mean,
yeah,
that may come back to bite them come November 2nd when they play their last game. So
yeah, all of a sudden, it's just weird to say it. Germantown, number one in the region. Starkville at the bottom.
Boy, that's just such a tough division, and you just have to think that somebody is not going to make the playoffs, and they're going to be a pretty good team, and they're not going to make it.
Yeah, I mean, right now, if you had to look at it, it has to be. Clinton has one. They didn't play tonight. They had the bye this week in the region. So Madison's 0-1, Starkville's 0-1. So yeah, those are the two teams right now. It's gonna be fun.
Awesome job, Brandon. Always good to hear from you, dude.
Yes, thank you.
All right, thanks, Brandon. We'll talk to you next week. Well, Greg, we've got to run. We're almost to the top of the hour. It's been fun. Thanks for being here tonight.
When you hear from me next week, I'll be calling you driving back from the Pine Belt from Petal, as the Pearl Pirates will be in Petal.
All right. Well, hopefully, the star of our show will be in his seat next week. We're expecting that. But for everybody on Friday Night Under the Lights, Greg Flynn, our guest host tonight, thanks for being with us. We'll be back next Friday night for another week of Friday Night Under the Lights.